Nessa sprinted past gawking techs, her medkit slamming against her hip. "Get the harness off," she barked. "Safety protocol says." Now, the man's fungal threads had turned black, bulging like veins. His eyes were milky, unseeing. Nessa pressed a scanner to his chest. His vitals were chaos. Then his hand shot out, clamping her arm. Visions erupted. 1,000 planets, strung together by spore-laden roots. Starships bursting into bloom. A voice, vast and ancient, spread yes. She wrenched free, gasping. The settler went limp, his body collapsing into a mound of spores. Chapter 5. Rourke's office reeked of antiseptic and rage. "You touched a contaminated subject," he hissed. "You're quarantined, effective immediately." Nessa didn't flinch. The forest is sentient. Harvesting it is genocide. And delaying the serum is treason. Choose your conscience or your career. In her quarters, she stared at the vial of black blood. The answer was in the settlers. In Cade. She injected the sample into a DNA sequencer. Hours later, the results blinked. Match found. Fungal sequences detected in human brain tissue. Integration, 97.3%. The settlers weren't infected. They were rewritten. Chapter 6. Nessa's boots sank into the spongy fungal mat as she stepped beyond NovaCorp's perimeter fence. The air tasted metallic, thick with spores that glinted like diamond dust in her helmet's beam. Cade walked ahead, barefoot and unafraid, his fungal threads glowing brighter with every step deeper into the forest. "Why help me?" she asked. He glanced back, his eyes reflecting the bioluminescent canopy. "You carry the Voidmother's voice now. She chose you when you touched the settler." The forest pulsed around them. Fungal pillars arched overhead, their caps weeping viscous fluid. Nessa's skin prickled. Her blood test had shown a 2.3% fungal integration, enough to sense the hive mind's whispers, not enough to understand them. Yet, Cade halted at a crater. Below, a massive fungal node throbbed, its surface veined with what looked like human capillaries. "Eat this," he said, handing her a sliver of glowing mycelium. "Are you insane?" The settlers did. "It's how we hear her." Nessa hesitated, then bit into the flesh. It tasted like copper and rot. The world dissolved. Memories flooded her, not hers, but the forest's. 1,000,000,000 spores drifting through space, embedding in comets, moons, dead worlds, waiting, always waiting. Then humans came, noisy, hungry, perfect. She vomited inside her helmet. Cade steadied her. "You see it now, we're not her victims, we're her witnesses." Chapter 7. The Wound and the Word. Cade's shack was a hovel of fungal parchment and bone tools. He brewed tea from spore clusters, steam curling into shapes that looked like screaming faces. "Why do the settlers never speak?" Nessa asked. "We do, just not with mouths." He pressed her palm to the wall. The fungus writhed, projecting images into her mind. Settlers laughing, grieving, communing. A child's first steps, mycelium knitting her broken ankle. A funeral where the dead bloomed into a new cap. "You share everything," Nessa murmured. "And you hide everything." Cade's gaze sharpened. "Even from yourself." She flinched. The Eridani 5 disaster flashed in her head. The atmospheric processes overloading, colonists choking on ozone. NovaCorp buried the reports. She buried the guilt. Told's hand brushed hers. "The Voidmother doesn't judge. She uses your guilt." NovaCorp's greed, all tools to spread. Nessa recoiled. "You're okay with being a tool, aren't you?" Chapter 8. Rourke's drones descended at dawn. mechanical scarabs that injected the fungal caps with acid, liquefying them for extraction. The forest screamed. Nessa felt it in her teeth, her bones. She raced to the lab, where Mira was calibrating a serum vial. Shut it down. Nessa slammed the drone schematics on the table. They're killing the hive mind. Mira didn't look up. It's biomass, Holt, not a mind. Then explain this. Nessa activated a hollow screen, settlers collapsing mid-task, fungal threads erupting from their eyes and mouths, thrashing toward the forest. Mira paled. Containment breach. A rescue mission. The lights flickered. A settler lurched into the lab, half his face dissolved into tendrils. He rasped, "They're coming for us all," before his skull split, releasing a spore cloud. Nessa dragged Mira out, as the cloud consumed the room. Chapter 9. Cade stood at the forest's heart, arms outstretched as drones bled the node above him. "You still don't see," he said. Serene. Nessa aimed her stun pistol at the drone controls. "I see enough. This ends now," he laughed. The hive mind's voice boomed through him, layered and ancient. "Let them harvest. Let them drink our essence and call it immortality. Their ships will carry us to worlds beyond your grasp. We will bloom in their veins, their cities, their children." The node ruptured, dousing them in black fluid. Nessa's vision blurred. Suddenly, she saw the future. A NovaCorp freighter docking at Kepler Station, spores hitching rides on wealthy serum users, galaxies turning green with fungal blooms. "You're a plague," she whispered. "We are evolution," the hive mind replied. "And you are our herald." Chapter 10. Rourke's guards cornered Nessa in the reactor core. "You turned my forest into a weapon," he spat, his left cheek peeling away to reveal fungal armor beneath. "Your forest?" Nessa dodged a guard's swipe. "You're already infected. A small price for eternity." He lunged, but a spore cloud exploded from the vents, engulfing his men. Their screams gurgled into silence. The facility shook, walls cracked, spewing fungal tendrils that dragged technicians into the biomass. Nessa fled to the hangar, where settlers huddled aboard a cargo shuttle. Cade stood at the airlock, half-consumed fungus, serene. "It's too late." The serum shipments launched. She stared at the departing freighters. "Then I'll make sure they regret it." Chapter 11. The cargo shuttle trembled as it detached from Zyphoria's dying orbital platform. Nessa gripped her restraints, watching through the viewport as NovaCorp's facility collapsed into a seething mass of fungal tendrils. Beside her, Mira sobbed into her hands, her corporate insignia ripped from her jacket. Cade's voice echoed in Nessa's skull, calm and alien. "You cannot outrun the Voidmother. She is in the serum. In the stars. In you." She clawed at her forearm, where black veins pulsed beneath her skin. The spores had breached her suit during the escape. Integration 34.7%. Her scanner read. She'd be one of them soon. A witness. A weapon. The shuttle's comms crackled. A hollow screen flickered, showing a NovaCorp freighter docking at Kepler Station. Wealthy elites in silken robes, queued for the first Voidmother Serum injections. A child reached for the needle, giggling. Nessa vomited. Mira stared. "We did this." "No," Nessa snarled. "They did." But the distinction didn't matter anymore. Chapter 12. Nessa dreamt of roots. Galaxies strangled by mycelium. Earth's cities dissolving into spore clouds. The Voidmother's voice, neither cruel nor kind. "You mourn one world while I save 1,000. Is that not love?" She woke screaming in the shuttle's medbay. Mira sedated her, but the visions continued. Cade stood in a field of white flowers, his body whole, human. "Join us," he said. "The serum will give them eternity. The fungus will give them purpose." "You're a parasite," Nessa hissed. He smiled. "So were you, scratching at rocks, burning forests. We're gentler conquerors." She lunged at him and woke to Mira slapping her. "The spores," Mira yelled. The shuttle's walls bled black ichor. Nessa grabbed a scalpel. "Cut it out of me." Mira hesitated. "It's in your brain," then cut deeper. Chapter 13. They crashed on a derelict mining outpost, its oxygen generators still functional. Nessa worked, half mad, splicing fungal DNA with stolen serum samples. Her blood swarmed with spores. They whispered equations, shortcuts, truths. Mira watched, hollow-eyed. "What's the plan? A cure? A compromise?" Nessa injected a serum vial with her infected blood. "The hive mind wants control. I'll give it empathy. Make every spore carrier feel what they destroy." "You're turning a bioweapon into a conscience evolution," Nessa muttered. The outpost shook. Outside, a NovaCorp dropship descended. Rourke's insignia on its hull. Mira armed herself. They followed the shuttle. Nessa pocketed the vials. "Buy me time." "How?" "Give them a show." Chapter 14. Rourke found her in the reactor core, his body a grotesque fusion of fungus and steel. "You stole from me," he gurgled, tendrils spewing from his mouth. Nessa dodged a swipe. "You stole first." He lunged. She jammed a vial into his chest. The counteragent spread, rotting his fungal armor. He collapsed, clawing at his melting face. "You ruined me." "No," Nessa said. "I upgraded you." Rebels swarmed the compound, settlers who'd fled Zyphoria, their fungal threads now glowing gold. Together they rigged the reactor to blow. Boat appeared in the flames, radiant and terrible. "The freighters are beyond your reach. The Voidmother wins." Nessa activated the detonator. "Tell her to share." The blast tore the outpost apart. Chapter 15. 3 months later, a freighter drifted near a dying planet, its soil poisoned by corporate mines. A crewman injected himself with smuggled Voidmother Serum, now laced with Nessa's cure. The spores bloomed in his veins. He felt the planet's pain. The forests screaming underground. The oceans choking on plastic. He wept. In the cockpit, he rerouted the ship toward the nearest terraforming guild outpost. The Voidmother's voice hummed in his skull, softer now, almost maternal. "Grow." Behind him, a fungal node flowered, a vivid, impossible blue.